My name is Eva Dienel, and I'm here at the BSR Conference 2015, where we're exploring the theme of resilient business, resilient world. I'm joined this evening by Nigel Topping, the CEO of the We Mean Business Coalition. Welcome, Nigel. And as I said, we're exploring the theme of resilience, which you focus a lot on in We Mean Business. Tell me what it means to you and how you focus on that for your work.
Well, I think, first of all, let me just explain a little bit about who we are, We Mean Business. So we're a coalition of initially 7 organizations, including BSR, working with business on climate change. So we're working with thousands of the world's biggest businesses on climate change. And we came together a couple of years ago to collaborate around our work on climate change, particularly in the run-up to the important international negotiations in Paris. I think that we think of resilience in 2 ways, really. One is the way that we're working as a coalition, and the other one is the way that we're working with business to transform the global economic system. So if I split it in those 2 ways, first thing I say is a coalition kind of by definition is more resilient than a set of individual actors working in an uncoordinated way. And it's particularly more resilient because you've got strength in diversity. Right. And which is non-trivial. It's easy to say, but it's hard to achieve, right? Because it really, when you're all individual actors, whether it's businesses or business associations or individuals, and you're all aiming for a similar end, and you don't know each other well, it's always easy to think that you're better than everyone else.
Yeah.
Because you judge them from your own paradigm. But when you start to really build relationships and realize that although you're aiming for the same thing, you bring different qualities and different strengths and different assets to it. First of all, it makes everyone a bit humbler. Second of all, it has people understand that what they've before maybe seen as a weakness because it was a difference. Actually, when we work together, that difference becomes a strength collectively. So coalitions, by definition, if you can make them work, are more resilient. And we work a lot on what I call radical collaboration.
I like that term.
Which means, I'd say there's 4 A's of radical collaboration. Aligning everything that we're doing. So we'll make sure we really work hard at aligning our messaging, our language, our strategy. And it's a painful process, right? But in the alignment, you discover why you see the world slightly differently. So that builds respect. It requires an investment in time. And the second thing is allocation. Allocating responsibility, saying, okay, you guys are really good at that, so you lead on that on all of our behalf. Or you could call it getting out of each other's way. It's a massive release of energy and capability, because if I acknowledge that you're better at something than I am, and that you take the lead on it, it means I don't have to worry about it so much. I can take the lead on something else. Complementary. And then we've got aggregation, so then everyone gets behind you. So you're leading on. So for example, in our work, we have one program to encourage businesses to commit to procuring 100% renewable energy. The climate group lead on that, and everybody gets behind it. CDP gets behind that, BSR gets behind that, and bring all their members and their relations behind that. And then the 4th A is amplification. So then everyone tells everyone else's success stories. So that makes things much more coherent.
So how do you work with that's kind of the internal collaboration piece of it. So how do you integrate resilience in the work of business?
So I think that in a way the most important is the way that we see the role of business in changing the policy context.
Right.
So a lot of people see a kind of linear one-way relationship between business and policy. Like policymakers set policy, businesses initially resist and then comply. So it's a kind of policymakers make the rules model.
Right, top down.
Yeah, what we think is that it's much more of a reflexive relationship, that businesses by their words and actions set the context within which policymakers understand what's possible politically and technically. So for example, we're working to get a lot of companies to commit to science-based emissions reduction targets. So their own emissions reduction targets, which means that trajectory would allow us to stay within the 2-degree threshold. The more businesses do that, the more the easier it is for policymakers to set bolder policy.
Right.
And then the bolder policymakers are, the easier it is for more. So it's like business influences policy, which influences the business.
Right.
Well, if you get it right, it's virtuous. You get it wrong, of course, it's a race to the bottom. So it works both ways.
Right.
So, but finding that when business engages with policymakers from a position of leadership, so we have already committed to X.
Yeah.
Then they have the era of policymakers in a very different way. It's a positive. It's a positive rather than if you do this, it will destroy us. So that reflects a relationship between it kind of builds a much more resilient ecosystem in terms of the relationship between policy and practice.
So talk to me a little bit about leadership, because leadership is an important dimension of resilience. What does it mean to be a resilient leader?
Well, I think. I'm tempted to spout cliches about servant leadership and blah blah blah, but I think it's several elements that I think to be a resilient leader, first, that's the most important quality is honesty. But honesty in terms of which is hard, right? It requires self-knowledge. Like honesty about what's really motivating you.
Right.
Is it kudos? Is it recognition?
Yeah.
Is it making a difference in the world that you can feel good about?
Yeah.
So it's also honest about what your capabilities are. It's kind of comes back to this point about creating a resilient ecosystem. If you're not able to be honest about where you're not strong, you overstretch yourself and you try and do things actually you're not really capable of doing. So honesty, I'd say, is really important. I think generosity is really crucial leadership quality for resilience. Acknowledging the skills and the leadership of others in a genuinely generous way, not in a manipulative way. If I big you up, hopefully you'll big me up. But just, I think that's a non-zero sum quality, generosity.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
And I think those are two really key qualities for the kind of collaboration which is necessary to build resilient organizations, whether you're thinking internally or ecosystems you're thinking externally.
Well, thank you, Nigel, for your time. I appreciate it. And thank you for all the great work that you're doing, especially this year. Thanks for coming to the BSR conference.
Right, you're welcome. It's been great being here. Thank you.